And we are live. Excellent. So let me shift you over here to this screen here. Excellent. Yes. So I have James Sugrue here with us. He is one of our great GMs here at Lurking Fears. He is also just a fantastic guy, all around guy to get to know and be around. I've known him for a while now, and we've been good friends. And he's helped me right along with building this group, Lurking Fears. But yeah, we have a few questions for James for those who don't know him to kind of get to know him better. Hopefully, to see him at Origins, it all kind of depends on where we're going to be in October. but uh, hopefully, we can see him there and play some great games that he's at. So, hello, James.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Thank you for asking. So the first question I think we lead off with is pretty basic. How long have you been running games?
I really didn't start running games until I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
I've been playing since 78.
Yeah.
Most of that time I was playing wrong, for lack of a better term, because we just didn't know.
Yeah.
But by the time I was in a freshman in high school, which was 83, 84, right around there,
Yeah.
I was able to meet people that like didn't live on my street. And then, you get better interpretations and so forth. It's funny how the education system works.
Oh,
I don't really
know.
remember any of my high school learning, but I remember I learned D&D really well in high school. And Traveler and quite a few other things. But anyway.
Yeah, I heard 300%. The only thing I learned in drafting class was Star Frontiers. That's the only thing I learned in drafting class. It was how to play Star Frontiers. That's all we did. Excellent. That's legit. So, were you like in a rural setting then? We grew up in the country or city or mixed match or?
Yes.
Yes.
I grew up in the largest town in the state area-wise, but literally at the end of my street where it teed into another street, right across was a cow in its own special field.
Cow.
With just a single cow. We couldn't have two cows, just one cow.
Wow.
And when the cow wasn't there, we had 2 to 3 goats. Nice. I was in school when this guy moved his animals around because he owned property all over. The town was a big farming community.
Gotcha.
That during, I would say, the 80s and into the 90s and everything, it transitioned from farming to industrial parks. Okay. Because of all the acreage.
All right.
And so, yeah, I sort of had that weird mix.
Got it. So, what games did you play first? You said you've been playing since '78. I can imagine.
So 70
available at the time. Yeah.
So 78, I was playing basic D&D.
Okay, red box or blue box.
Red, blue, all of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything that came out, I gobbled up when I could because I would walk to the center of town from my house, which was like 2 hours of walking to get to the hobby store.
You didn't have a bike? Oh man, sorry.
We did, but I lived up on a ridge, and I would have to haul all that pig iron back up the hill, and I said no.
That does make sense. Make sense.
Because back then, people, our bikes were made of metal as opposed to all these wonderful light alloys that you find nowadays.
Weighed about 50 pounds.
And that was just the banana seat that you begged your parents to buy for you.
Exactly. No shocks back then. No, no.
Hell no. And no, my friend and I would walk down after school. This is in high school. I didn't switch to advanced D&D until high school. That's when I started picking up those books. The original deities and demigods, so forth.
Got it.
But before that, I had also gotten the chance to pick up Traveler, the little black books,
Okay.
and it was a totally different rule system. And I like sat down and figured that sucker out because I could
Yeah.
understand that one better than the D20 system,
Oh, okay.
and that's
Yeah.
just my mental.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
And so I really enjoyed the rule system, but it didn't have much for it. Once
Yeah.
again, once I got into high school, made a few friends with a car, still did those walks. Then I started getting other stuff, the original Traveler Adventure, which I still love. Um, you know, all sorts of stuff, all the supplement books, you name it, I was picking them
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
were no PDFs back then.
No. 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 It was all books. It was all books, and it was cheap. You could get a box set for $20.
Correct.
You know.
A box set now runs about 80.
Exactly. Exactly. Slipcase. Oh, it's a box set.
It's a box set.
It's a box set that splits, but you look at it wrong. But yeah. So was that the first games that you ran? Then was like D&D and Traveler. Then?
Yeah, it was. D&D and then Traveler, and then more D&D when I went to Advanced.
Got it.
And it's so long ago, I can't remember when the stuff came out. But, like, I know by the 90s, I was doing Cyberpunk 2013.
Yeah,
I was running
big,
that.
Yeah,
I was
big.
running Rifts, and I'm sorry, but I was cursing Kevin's name because that initial system... Yeah.
I tried.
I really tried.
Really tried. Yeah, me too.
So I really love the Rifts world, but I couldn't do it. GDW, which is a game company that is defunct, which is what put out Traveler.
Yeah, Games on Fortune. Yeah.
I love just about every role-playing game they put out.
Yeah.
I love Dark Conspiracy. I loved... now I'm going brain dead.
Oh, they had fantastic stuff. Yeah.
2300, Traveler 2300. Yeah. But anything they put out, including their war games, I was into.
Yeah.
So Harpoon, Command Decision, I was right there. I had the micro armor, everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really love them. I discovered GURPS, and I love the concept of GURPS.
Me too. I dig it. It's hard to get people to...
And I love the source books, but getting through that session 0 of character creation, getting gamers together is already like herding cats. Yeah. Now you're putting a cucumber in the center of the room.
Yeah. Not so much with 4th edition, but up to 4th edition, when you were trying to tell everybody that they have to spend a quarter of a point.
Yeah.
To get this level to go up, and they're like, "What?" You're like, "Just do it, man. Just do it."
But I was already kind of into that math because of BattleTech, so
Exactly.
How much does a machine gun weigh?
Well, yeah. I mean, I still argue that GURPS probably has the best background material for Traveler that's out there. Really.
Yes, it does. It does.
If you really want to like deep dive into what's going on and not just we're doing this, you want to delve into why we're doing this. I think GURPS still does it best. I really did.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Their source material is beyond peer. Yeah, I think that's just Steve Jackson and the way he just deep dives into every kind of thing he does, and probably why he and all his computers got hijacked by the FBI. But yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But I did buy the game that the government did try to stop.
It was like their version of Cyberpunk, wasn't it? It was.
It was GURPS Cyberpunk.
GURPS Cyberpunk. Yeah, he said just the right kind of words that the FBI are like, he knows something.
Yeah, but he also in the same time frame came out, I believe, with Hacker, the card game.
Yeah.
So it was a double project, stealing from each other and perhaps
Hmm.
some websites that they weren't supposed to be in. I don't know.
Maybe, maybe.
But I am
Yeah.
disappointed that the Illuminati never showed up for the Illuminati game. So
I know, right? Yeah, I always wondered if Illuminati was like his dig at that incident. I'm pretty sure it was.
I think Illuminati actually came out before those.
Was it before that? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not really sure. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't know about the history of Illuminati. I love the game.
but heck, I have GURPS Illuminati.
Exactly. You want to play really paranoid? Play some GURPS Illuminati. Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's worse than paranoia. Yeah. Because it could be real. You don't know.
I also played West End game Star Wars.
That's probably the first game I played and ran was West End game Star Wars.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I read like D&D and stuff like that when I was a kid, but I didn't have anybody to play with. I didn't have anybody to play the game, kind of like you. I didn't have anybody to play the D&D games with. But I loved the Legends lore because I loved reading about mythology and stuff like that. So the Legends lore was just like the next step up for me. I was like, oh, not only can I, read up some more about King Arthur and Merlin, but I can take them and go fight these dudes. I was like, that was it for me.
Round Table versus the Shoggoth.
Exactly. So, and then it introduced me to Elric and all that stuff because I didn't know anything about that. I read
that
mythologies.
That introduced me to Elric on that. That introduced me to the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah.
And I think we've discussed this before. I attempted Cthulhu First Edition.
Yeah. Oh.
And now I was able to figure out Traveler math and like it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's in my favor.
Yeah.
But I think I never got with Cthulhu because there was a lot of weird rules in that and stupid math that didn't need to be there. As anybody from 7th edition looking back can see.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
but I think my main failing is myself and who I was playing with didn't have the maturity level for a more intellectual scary game.
Exactly.
So it was like, we tried it. It was okay, I'm moving on.
Not really sure what I'm doing with this. And that's how I was when Traveler when I first came across it because, like I said, I read D&D, didn't have anybody to play it with. I started playing Star Wars with my cousins who would come down from Wisconsin. They were huge Star Wars freaks, and they were both gamers. So the three of us, we would play Star Wars games, the West End game Star Wars games. And then I started playing Star Frontiers in high school. And then I started to realize what to do with D&D and got an actual gaming group with D&D and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But, Traveler, I wasn't sure what to do with it. I'm kind of like what you were with Cthulhu. Traveler, I liked it, but I didn't know what to do with it. And I was like, I had to come back to that one. And it wasn't until like my college years that I know what to do with Traveler.
Since I invest in myself in figuring out the rules and the math and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about back when you picked a hull size and you got a letter for your power plant and a letter for your drives. We haven't bought the High Guard supplement yet. I'm going to do some college math that I don't fully understand, but I'm going to pick up a book at the library so I can do it.
Yeah.
Because I spent so much into it, I just kept picking up or ordering the supplements and so forth. And so, when I hit library data, A through M, and then library data N through Z, I mean, those were two little, but they just opened so much of the imagination. And so did the original Traveler Adventure.
Yeah.
And because I got them as they came out, I was right there, and I was like frothing to run it. And so you convince your friends to do it. And actually, one of my longest running games was Thieves World. If you remember that one, it came out from Chaosism.
Yeah.
but it was a multi-system supplement
Mhm.
based on the books Thieves World,
Yep.
and they had traveler stats in it. And it was, my friends wanted to play D&D. I wanted to play Traveler. Happy medium.
Make it work exactly. Yeah, I wasn't even in college till I started really playing Traveler. I was out of college and in my 20s, and I met a guy who was a great Traveler GM. He taught me everything there was to know about Traveler, and we started with GURPS Traveler, and
Oh, okay.
then he showed me the other stuff again. I got reintroduced to it again. And he was one of those guys that was like in the Navy, in the sub, and it was like him and the Black Book and two other guys in the crew compartment. And they would bribe him by tossing cigarettes over the DM screen, for the rolls.
I'm going to throw this out there. If anybody's up in New England, okay, I can't remember if it's Groton or London, but there's a sub base there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
On the east side of the river, whatever town that is Citadel Game Cellar.
Mm-hmm.
And cellar is spelled as basement. It's a great store. Check it out. It's geared to keep all those servicemen happy with board games and whatnot.
Coolness.
And so, and it's been there since,
yeah,
I don't know, forever. It's been there the whole time I've been gaming.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one that taught me how to hand wave a lot of the stuff in Traveler. Like, back then, High Guard, you had to have a degree in aeronautical math to know what the hell you're doing in High Guard.
Correct.
You just did. Especially when he came out with T4. Oh, my God. It was just, you look at the formulas and you're like, I don't have time. I don't want to.
Actually, I think it was the greatest marketing ploy in the world.
How's that?
It gave it to you, so if you wanted to invest the time and figure it out, you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like everybody else, as soon as the vehicle supplements came out, you snagged them.
Exactly. It was probably right. That's probably right. Exactly. Yeah. No. So yeah, that kind of leads into our next question. What is your favorite game to run, and why is it called Cthulhu? I mean, or whatever game it is that you like to run most.
So, I can't really give a favorite game.
Mm-hmm.
I can give a favorite style.
Okay.
All right. And I like pulp.
Mm-hmm.
I like that high adventure.
Yeah.
So I really like the Savage Worlds game system. I mean, that's a great cinematic pulp style game system, no matter what you're playing. Superheroes, whether you're playing Flash Gordon, whether you're playing Vietnam War. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got that pulp feel to it.
Yeah.
I love Cthulhu pulp. Haven't run it yet, but everything I've read and everything I've played, I've enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of goes hand in glove with Savage Worlds. It makes them more human than human, but not crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, at that point, I kind of consider the player characters, the heroes, if you will, to be low-end superheroes, vigilantes, if you will, which brings you back to like a D&D party. I mean, you show up with a wizard, a paladin, a cleric, a rogue. They're more than the sum of what's the village, town, city can offer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they should be, pun intended, game changers in your environment.
Exactly.
And, I want my players to try to swing on a rope under a dirigible to actually swing up and time it right to land on the biplane that's going by in a strafe.
Exactly.
I want that stuff to happen, without parachute or net. Okay. Now, bad die rolls do matter.
Do matter. Yeah.
But if you pull it off, it's going to be epic.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I remember doing that similar kind of thing with that pulp adventure I ran for you guys, but with another group. Uh, Tarzan was trying to climb up the dirigible ladder, the step ladder kind of thing, up to the dirigible, the airship,
Right.
the blimp thing, and he failed his climb roll. He messed up his climb roll, and I'm like, he fell into the bay, and I was like, Tarzan fell. He said, Tarzan fell.
I totally feel his pain because he had that one moment in the game, whereas I got to play Doc Savage in that game.
He's everywhere, right?
And I didn't make a roll. Most of my stuff was 75% skill level. I didn't make a single success.
Goodbye, roll I know. It was like, today Doc Savage will be played by Charlie Brown. Good grief.
That pretty much nails it.
Exactly.
And there's my friend Matthew holding the football.
It's right here. It's right here. It just goes, man. It just goes.
I will never use another digital die roller till the day I die.
That is
if you don't want me rolling natural dice, then don't invite me to your game.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I wanted to thank you for getting me the other dice, the unicorn colored, princess colored dice or whatever it is.
Princess Bubblegum Unicorn dice. I remember what you told me.
Bubblegum. Remember, this is a family show. But Princess Bubblegum.
Yeah.
Unicorn. So
it's off of Adventure Time, or so we Googled.
Exactly. So
I'm gonna get flack from some of my friends that I don't know.
The first time I used it was when I had the vampire attack on my guys that I just finished a campaign with, and I technically killed someone and crippled the other. So they work really well. They work really good.
Okay.
So I like them. Outstanding. Yeah. So you prefer like pulp kind of games?
I prefer a pulp style or a cinematic style.
Yeah. Larger than life.
I am more modern to sci-fi than I am fantasy. Mm-hmm. Although fantasy I find easiest to run.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed in modern to sci-fi, your players will give pushback on certain things, like, well, how do the engines work? How does, that wouldn't happen that way and this, that. But in fantasy, they're already in their mind giving a hand wave for like, it must be magic or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. What do? You kill it with your sword. That's what you do.
Yeah. The same thing in Traveler, technically.
Kill me with my sword, man. How crazy is that? So you favored a pulp style kind of game. I know, just from playing with you and stuff like that, just running games for you, that you definitely favor more of a storyteller game more than a dice roll game. You like someone to tell you a good story, which pulps lends it to. And that's all the pulp's about, is you want somebody to tell you an awesome, larger than life, over the top kind of story.
Correct.
So that fits. That definitely makes it right. So what would somebody expect from like your game? Like if they come to sit down and play your game, one of your games at Origins. I know you have some already submitted. Thank you. What would they expect at a James Sugrue game?
A good time, basically. If I don't have people, relaxed and laughing at some point, I've failed as a human being, not as a guy running a game. As a human being, it's like chill. We're here to play a game. It's roll the clacky rocks. It's just cool.
Exactly.
But I also try to make sure my games have moments where the players are interpreting one way and then they realize it's another way.
Mm-hmm.
And I love seeing this on the faces.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. When you get that eyebrow raise,
Yeah, that moment.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is the best moment.
Yeah,
In a
and
game.
it could be situational, it could be plot, but you're always going to have, or I'm always striving for an O moment.
Mm-hmm.
More than one if I can get it off, but
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
definitely want you to have that one moment where you go, oh.
That one gets you a moment, and it doesn't even really have to be huge. One of my favorite moments that we've done so far was the Traveler game where I got uh, your friend. I keep blanking out on his name.
Jake.
Huh?
Jake?
Jake? No, the guy who's playing the
Pedro.
Sonic.
Teledrift.
Pedro, thank you. Teledrift. God, why am I always blanking out on his name? I'm so sorry. When you guys were doing the
Pedro, don't get a complex. He's just incompetent.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't see you enough, Pedro. That's the problem. I don't see enough for you ingrained in my head for some reason. But yeah, when we had that little conversation in the Traveler game, and he said that, how are you? Have a good day, kind of something outside of a normal conversation that you would have with like traffic control. And my guy just like was awkwardly didn't know what to say back. And everybody was just dying. They're like, we gotta sneak through this area, and you're just trying to have a casual conversation with this guy. You're not supposed to do that. That was so awesome. That was I mean, just a little moment like that can just turn the game and just make it really good. And I think we had some of our best role playing after that, from that point on in the game.
Now, I want to go back to that Star Wars game that you were running a couple of years back. I sort of did that as a player to you, gave you an O moment.
Yeah. Well, what were we doing?
We were leaving the planet, and we had to give the code.
Oh yeah.
And literally, he goes, all right, it's security on the radio. I need a code. I took all the dice in front of me, rolled them, and just read the numbers off. That was my code.
Yeah.
And so Matt's like, okay, he's checking them. And he comes back, that's the wrong code. And I said, well, what did you read me? And Matt goes, well, he reads the numbers that you read. And I said, well, that's not what I said. I said, and then I made an awesome bluff check.
Not 9553. Oh, pardon me. That checks out. I think you embarrassed him so bad he didn't bother to check. He's just like, fine, whatever. Which I've totally done on some of my service calls. Sorry, work.
But yeah, no, I can actually tell you the first O moment I remember as a GM.
Yeah.
So, this is back in high school, limited funds, walking, 2 hours across town to get to the game store, walking an hour back to sit at a little park to read what we bought and catch our breaths, and then walking the last hour so you're home in time for dinner. Yeah. Okay. But, limited funds, big one there.
Yeah.
And, back in the day, for me, the high cost was actually dice.
Oh, yeah.
Dice prices have gone up, but not as much as, let's say, book prices.
Oh, God.
Not even close.
No.
So,
It was like, what, $5 for a set of dice or something, which was a lot of money back then. That was a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even back then, it was 50 cents a die.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what the guy in my town was charging me. Yeah.
Skin
But he ain't there no more.
Wow. Wow. Do we just...
He retired.
Retired in no Pinewood box, but okay.
After he retired, I think a Pinewood box was involved, but it wasn't like the same week or anything. But I had amassed a collection of 5 D20s because I was a GM and I'd have multiple monsters to attack.
Look at you rolling 5D20s all at the same time.
And, back then, of course, you had the GM screens. So you were the GM. So therefore, even if you never use the friggin' screen, it's up. It's staying up just to make sure you dominate the table. Doesn't matter if you have to. Doesn't matter if you're looking out like this and have to stand up every time someone's doing something on the table.
To check
you
their
had
roll.
your GM screens up.
Yeah. Yeah, you had to get up to check their roll, but you couldn't come do that on
Yeah,
your
you
roll.
couldn't check my rolls. No. My rolls are sacred. And my first moment was just my phrasing and not really thinking about it.
Oh.
Now,
that's you in a nutshell, but okay.
I think about it and then I don't care. But it was, the players were high enough for what was about to happen. All right. It was like 15 goblins. I remember that because I had 5D20.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And back then it was, everybody rolled initiative and the monsters rolled initiative as a group. It was not really the best, but, it was what it was.
It worked.
We still had fun, people.
Exactly.
And
you rolled a D6 and liked it, and that was it.
Well, we were rolling D20s. It was first edition, so we were trying D20s and all that.
Oh wow, highfalutin.
But they were in the woods in some heavy underbrush, and they got attacked by goblins. 15 goblins.
Oh, that's a lot.
And yeah, but they were like 5th level. They were going to butcher these things. They all had like 4 hit points each and all this,
Oh well, yeah.
So, I say they had 4 hit points. I guess that was the average because you were supposed to roll each one, so you had a notebook paper with lines across it of just random numbers. But anyway, without thinking, I scooped up my 5D20 and I went, first wave. And said, okay, this hits you, this hits you, this hits you, the other 2 missed. Scooped them up again. Second wave. Second wave, I noticed a change in the atmosphere. But I hadn't looked over the screens yet.
Yeah.
And I picked them up a third time and I went, third wave. Now, when I had left my players, they were all sitting in their chairs like this. We're playing D&D. We're going to smash something. When I look back at my players, they were all sitting around the table like this. How many are there? Do you stop and count? No. And I said, phrasing means a lot. And that's when I started exploring words in descriptions.
Yeah.
To give a little something to what is written in the adventure or what you're putting into the adventure, if you're writing your own. And just give that little extra so they're never quite sure. I mean, they know they're in trouble, per se, because they're looking for trouble. That's what adventurers do.
They look for trouble.
But they don't necessarily know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And they got to work their way through it.
Yeah.
And that's when I really started working on it. And you can do that with pulp. You can do that with anything, really.
Yeah.
And that was my and that's when my descriptions got a heck of a lot better.
Yeah.
You enter a 10 by 10 room. There's a monster. What do you do? Now you notice a treasure chest in the corner. Now it turns into cobwebs and creaky sounds and dripping water and
somebody screaming way off in the distance. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it's just part of natural progression as a GM. That definitely makes sense. So the last question is more of a discussion question. It's kind of leading off the discussion I had with Josh last interview. I know Josh is anathema to online role playing. He will not do it. He cannot do it. He tried, and he's like, "No, I don't like it. It's not good. I don't like it." I think you and I have kind of flourished using online role gaming, not expecting to, but but because of
Oh, I
COVID.
remember our first games and cussing.
Yeah, I mean, thank
Not
you, COVID.
understanding, not hearing, fading, echoes, feedback.
Yeah,
I think we
yeah.
still have all that. It's just our ears have grown accustomed.
We got to adjust. Yeah. We just learned to wait one Mississippi, 2 minutes. Okay, let's quit. Okay. We're good now. Okay. But yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think we both have learned to adapt really well to online gaming. Um, I think we both still uh, want to see table playing again.
Oh yes, yes.
Probably more than, yeah, definitely more than anything. But we've adapted to online play. We've tried different platforms like Discord, Roll20, blah 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 blah. I'm sold on this one. To me, this is the most stable that we're on right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Streamyard. Um, so with a person like you who is mobile, you have a job where you're all kinds of places all the time. Do you see in this being part of your repertoire from now on, or what?
Yes. Especially in this hacktastic way.
Yeah,
I'm folks, I've played on Roll20.
yeah.
I've played on Fantasy Grounds. I'm a role player.
Hmm.
Those two settings, while they don't necessarily take away from role playing, I mean, if you're having great games and you're enjoying it, rock on. It's all for
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
For me, I don't need a battle mat. I really don't need a battle mat. I can do description.
Hmm.
If I have to, I can throw something up on a screen. People know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
And
description.
I got enough memory from theater of the mind for all those years that if
Hmm.
you say you go into the corner, I'm going to remember you're in the corner. I may remember you're in the corner longer than you remember you're in the corner.
Exactly.
um, so I don't. I mean, like Savage Worlds is not a game that I'll run online.
I get it.
Uh, because honestly, to really do it right is to use something like Fantasy Grounds.
Hmm. Hmm.
They have all the stuff built in at this point, but you got to rebuy it. And I own a lot of Savage Worlds, and I ain't buying it again. I'm just not,
Yeah, yeah,
just so that my players can click the little die on their character sheet and have it roll appropriately with all the modifiers figured out for them.
yeah.
I expect more of my players. I expect them to be able to do simple math and roll dice. I do. I do. I mean, I had a good friend who I played with, and of all things, he played Pathfinder, and he counted on his fingers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with a barbarian swinging a +19, that was something to watch.
Ah, oh, man, talk about slowing the game down. Wow.
Yeah, but he actually got quick on his fingers. I don't know if it ever improved where he left the fingers behind, but I hope so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I learned to switch away from like the pips on the die in D6, Star Wars D6, to the number dies because I would catch myself counting the pips. I'm like, stop, get the numbers, get the number die, get the number die.
Now, see, I grew up on pips.
Yeah,
Because I could get all the board game dice out, and I could, you could find those really cheap
Rados,
at,
Monopoly. Yeah,
at the department store before Walmart. We used to
yeah.
have department stores throughout America, all different names. And
Exactly.
for a buck, you can get like 5 or 6 of them or whatever.
Well, that and then Risk had a lot of dice. If you had somebody at a Risk board
Mm-hmm.
game, you had all the dice you needed right there. Run D6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had Risk. So my BattleTech and everything was covered. Plus, my parents like to play Yahtzee, Kismet, both variations. So I had those dice. So figuring out what the 5 looked like, what the 6 looked like, I just recognized the pattern.
Yeah.
And the number was there. I wasn't counting the pips. I may have started that way. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I do still use pip dice in Savage Worlds
Yeah.
because I'll use a standard set of polyhedrals for my skill dice,
Mhm.
but my wild die will be the one with the pips, and that way I can always differentiate.
Yeah. 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 I do the same thing when I still play Star Wars. I have one red die with
Yeah.
pips on it, and Betty Tatum absolutely hates it when I bring out that red wild die. She's like, "No, don't put it back," because it always rolls sixes when I need it. Always, multiple times. Oh yeah, there was a huge, lasted way longer than it should have fist fight between a barely competent like lieutenant and her husband's character in a hallway. It was just the two of them by themselves, and it was just a much longer fist fight than it should have been. Because of those sixes, I kept rolling, and everybody was like, "Are you still beating his ass?" Yes, I'm still beating his ass. Like 20 minutes later, still beating his ass.
I've seen that. Not you particular, but I have seen that. And it's like,
Yeah,
the dice are the dice.
the dice do what they do. They do what they
Yeah.
do.
Well,
So
that's the same die he was rolling Wednesday, yeah? And he couldn't tie his shoelaces. What the hell happened?
exactly. When did he turn into Lando? How did this happen?
Exactly.
um, so yeah, to get back on the subject. So again, you're a person who's mobile a lot. Your job makes you travel a lot. So you do see that being part of your repertoire now, more the online gaming.
Yes. So usually I have a contract that's usually somewhere around 3 months long.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes it's a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit less. And so I'm in that area for that time.
Yeah.
I've been from Connecticut to California, so I've been on both coasts and back and forth and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have enjoyed about online gaming, I won't say because of the pandemic, because that still sucks. But being introduced to and really starting to play a lot on online, it allowed me to scratch the itch for a campaign.
Yeah.
I really enjoy having that epic story of a series of games going from beginning to goal. So that's big for me. So it's going to stay in my repertoire.
Yeah.
Now, once all the mandates are lifted, everybody's vaccinated, and we're declared safe, I'll start going back to game stores with game space.
Got it.
And I'll be running the short stuff, either one shots or 2 to 3 sessions here and there and so forth, and just get people to game with just to game. Savage Worlds will come back out. I'll be playing stuff that I've already run about 10 times each, and just to see how this group does it, because that's always a pleasure. It's just amazing. It's like, okay, I said the same stuff, but they're doing it this way.
I rag myself for running A Mother's Love for 6 times now, but everybody kind of plays it a little different. So, it's fun watching how they play it out. There's something to be said about, I wonder how this group would do with it. Yeah, there is something to be said about that. When I'm doing, when gaming comes back here, like I'll be playing with Chris and Betty and a few others again. So I'm gonna really be fighting for like my table time versus my online time, because I've made such good people to play with. Like you're not very far now, but a couple months from now, God knows where you'll be.
Right.
And then what's his name? Pedro. I'm sorry, I'm just teasing Pedro. I know who you are. but others like that who have learned to play online with. I don't want to lose those.
I have a question. I have a question.
Yeah.
He has a pet. Do you remember the name of the pet?
The psychic pet or the real pet?
Psychic pet.
Nugget.
He remembers your pet more than your character, Pedro.
Yeah. Well, I did give him the pet. So in all honesty, he just came as part of the game. I had to make up that pet for him. I had to work for it. Oh, but yeah.
You don't want to lose the community you got online. I understand that.
Yeah,
and I wonder about that too, because I never know what shift I'm going to be on. For the next assignment. I have preferences, but anybody who actually works in the real world, your preferences only somewhat matter.
The world we live in, yeah.
Yeah, so, if it was like a Tuesday night game, I'm probably not going to make it. So all my stuff is going to be tied up around the weekend, except for a contract. And then maybe I can play during the week. But then again, if you're doing anything with any length to it, what happens? So
exactly.
So I'll try to do my game stores during the week.
That sounds like a good plan. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out when things open up. Like, how we're going to get back into gaming at the table and maintain our online gaming relationships. I think it's going to be a fun, interesting struggle. Just kind of see how that's going to balance out.
Yeah, because I have had the joy of playing with several people from the British Isles, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Vancouver Island also. And I know that's part of Canada, but still, it's Vancouver Island. Take a look at it. That's kind of special. There was one guy I never figured out where in the world he was from.
Oh wow!
And someone had already asked earlier, and I missed it, and I wasn't going to do it again.
Well, yeah.
So I don't want to belabor the point and all that. I've played with people all over the United States.
Yeah.
And it's really been a joy. One, hearing them talk, but two, the style of play that they bring to the table. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was just running a Call of Cthulhu game with one person who was from England and another person from Australia. And to listen to those two accents in the game was amazing. And they're playing Boston FBI agents, and so the one from England's like, can I just be like a detective on loan from Scotland Yard, because this is going to be really awkward otherwise. And I'm like, you know what? Sure, fine. It's fine. You're here giving a lecture on police procedure in England.
You're the fingerprint specialist.
Exactly. So it's all serendipity how that works out, and I like that. How that happens. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see how that plays out. I think that's about all the questions I have. Is there anything you want to add?
No, other than I've really enjoyed, I'll say, the past 6 months of gaming online, because I found some really good people to game with regularly, which I didn't really have when I travel. And so I have old friends, Matthew, but I've met other people through it. I've met people who now travel like me and brought them into games I'm in. Pedro. So it's really something else to just be able to, keep track of gaming buddies and, still game with them, even though, they're not within town, to meet up at wherever and roll some dice.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Very, very cool. All right. Well, yeah. So again, we do hope to see you at Origins. Depending on where you're going to be at. I know you'll be hopefully in the United States, but
it'll be in the United States. I'm I'm not going overseas at this point.
That's good. That's probably
Yeah.
yeah. It's probably a good
It's going to be a while before COVID's cleared everywhere.
Yeah. One of our Canadian friends, he still hasn't got the jab yet. So yeah.
Yeah, he's got an appointment.
Kind of appointment. Yeah. Well, more power to him. Hope it works out. Well, anyway, that's about all we have for this interview. Thank you for talking with us, James, so we can get to know more about you and be able to see recognize your face when we see you at the table.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.